Alright everyone, it's time for a throwaway issue, and it's a throwaway issue because nobody really cares about it even though it's highly significant, and that's the act of John Kerry violating the Logan Act, which he clearly did. He went over to Iran to more or less officially, as a former Secretary of State, former senator, big guy within democratic politics, he went over to Iran to conduct what amounts to diplomacy. That's what it amounts to. He violated the Logan Act. They should be fining him or at least questioning him before Congress or something right now. But here's the thing. John Kerry is so inept and so ineffectual that, there's very little chance that actual harm will be done. I have a feeling he probably told the Iranians he met with. Apparently he met with some in Paris as well. So he's meeting with them on multiple occasions. What he's telling them probably is, Donald Trump is an ass. We hate him. You should, rise up in the streets and call for blood and raise trouble so that hopefully he decides to strike a new deal. It's probably what's happening. Or it's a deep state op. That's possible. The other possibility, maybe Trump tipped him off, said, Here, John, I know how much you love money. Here's $10 million. Go over and play good cop, and then we'll get a new deal, and we can get the money back or something, because that's Trump's presidency in a nutshell, is doing stuff like that. Maybe he's working for Trump. Who knows? Regardless, though, no, he's not going to get in. He's not really going to get investigated for an obvious breach of our laws. It's not going to happen. One, he's too rich. He can hire all the lawyers. Number two, he's politically powerful. At this point, he's probably a more politically potent Democrat than any of the Clintons. Which both says bad things about the Democratic Party as a whole, and maybe about the Clintons, and maybe decent things about John Kerry. He's more well-liked as Secretary of State, better than Hillary Rodham Clinton. Generally speaking, received more well than she was. Less acerbic. More of the shyster, the shy shyster type. Literally, like, he has that long moose-looking face, and he looks very dour. And he doesn't strike you as the life of the party. And Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, is the one that's getting drunk and wearing the lampshade at the party. He's the one who stands in the corner and looks at his feet, basically. John Kerry violated the Logan Act, absolutely, but he won't get in any trouble for it. And I see two things happening. There's a schism within the media. Some of it is saying it's very important. How can you talk about collusion or anything like that if you're not going to hold, John Kerry to the same standard? And that's coming more from the smaller conservative media. Like, a lot of the news sites that were actually talking about that in the last maybe 48 hours were little tiny, they were like, local news sites or regional news sites, not anything national. So, in other words, you're never going to hear about it for the most part. The national media largely is solidified and saying, no, he didn't violate it, or even if he did, it doesn't matter because he'll look, a distraction, basically trying to defend him. You'd barely even need to, though. There's really no reason to bother. Anyway, if you drag him before Congress and say, well, Mr. Kerry, were you attempting to conduct diplomacy or something? He's like, no, and you're like, aha, well, you were anyway. It will just be seen in the current political climate by anyone who's center-left or on the left, or anyone who's a Democrat, basically. They're a Democrat loyalist. It's going to be seen as an attempt to deflect from the Trump investigation, from the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe, you hear less and less about it because it's fairly obviously going nowhere. Congress has called for it to end. Giuliani's gunning for him at this point. It's going to fall apart. What Cohen says or does, or the Stormy Daniels lawyer and all this stuff, it doesn't matter. That's tabloid swill. It's literally nothing more than playing Trump's game, because it's exactly the sort of thing he's used to maneuvering. You're not going to be able to beat Trump and Giuliani teamed up on such an issue. He will escape scot-free, even if he did something wrong. It's not going to happen. As for John Kerry, it would probably be about the same. It's going to be kind of difficult. Were these unrecorded talks? What if John Kerry just says, no, we weren't even talking about politics. No, we were discussing like a football game or something. How are you going to go ahead and prove? I mean, it's obvious. It's sort of like, it's obvious Bill Cosby raped people. But do we have any forensic evidence, or do we just have a series of allegations? Well, if you put 60 allegations together, common sense tells you, yeah, he's guilty. He's fucking totally guilty. It makes no sense that many people who are female that he associated with would hate him enough to try to defame him or get money out of him and stab him in the back, and no one would rise up to defend him other than his wife, who now is as silent as a grave. It doesn't make sense, but you shouldn't be able to put someone in jail based on solely an allegation. It shouldn't even be prosecuted at that point in a criminal sense. There's my feelings. And that'd be my feelings about the John Kerry case. Yeah, it's obvious he's trying to convince the Iranians to do something, but how are you going to get evidence of that? Do you think John Kerry... Oh yeah, let me just press this button on my phone. I want to record our conversation to try to screw myself in the ass if, on the off chance, the 1 in 1,000 chance Congress gives a damn enough to actually call me before and have me testify under oath about what I'm talking to you about. Let me just screw myself. Let me do like the Clinton thing and misuse electronics and just really be dumb. Of course, if he did have his smartphone with him, it is, technically being recorded, because if it's a Apple or a Google device or a Microsoft device, those things record everything around them constantly 24/7. It's basically one giant surveillance and tracking system. By the way, all the Mark of the Beast RFID 666 Christians, you're already wearing it if you have a smartphone and carry it around. So yeah, sorry, you're already being tracked, or you at least can. So be paranoid to someone who cares. Yeah, it's really, really great. John Kerry will not face repercussions. It's just like Hillary Clinton. I said a long time ago. Yeah, it's obvious she misused government property. She improperly stored emails. She improperly sent and received, classified material. She should be in prison. Any other American would be, but she's not going to be because she's Hillary Clinton. She's also notorious as a crook. She has deep state connections to cover her ass, number one. Number two, yeah, she probably scrubbed anything incriminating anyway. And lo and behold, a lot of people swore up and down that her goose was finally cooked. Yes, they're going to imprison a presidential candidate, just like they're going to imprison John Kerry, former Secretary of State, Senator, and presidential candidate. Friend of Obama, ally of the Clintons. Yeah, they're going to imprison him for violating the Logan Act without any evidence. Okay, yeah, I'll wait 1,000 years and he'll still be free. By the way, speaking as a nonpartisan individual, as someone who, I'm not going to take up the, another evil Democrat line or something. Why do I fucking care if he talked to the Iranians? I don't personally see the problem with it. He can't strike an officiating deal. He can't do anything legal. He can tell them, well, here's my feelings about Trump. I don't like him or whatever. Here's what I think you should do to get the Iran deal back on, the nuclear deal back on track or something. He can do that all day. It's not official. That doesn't mean that his advice, look at how inept he is. He couldn't even win against George W. So how is his advice going to be highly valued anyway? What, is he promising deep state assets will do something about this? Don't worry, just bide your time? Something like that. How do you even know it's true? Maybe he's a double agent. Maybe Trump paid him off. Or maybe Trump threatened him and said, you're going to do what I tell you. Otherwise, you will be in prison along with your friends in the Democratic Party that have been fucking people over for the last half century. Maybe that's possible. Yeah, it's entirely possible. That's about all. Peace out.